Well, good morning. Good morning, good morning. If you've got a handy-dandy little bulletin in your hand, you'll notice that the date is wrong. That's all right. In honor of Earth Day this past week, we chose not to reproduce paper since y'all weren't here last week. So, hey, Bobby, they can't hear anything out there. Where are you? Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Can you hear me now? No. No? All right, I'm going to keep talking here till y'all can hear me. Sean, you better talk too and see if they can hear you.
Can you hear me?
All right, we're going to wait on Bobby. Hey, how about a little Jeopardy music while we wait? Nobody can hear us, they say. All right, do this, Bobby. Hurt them till they start crying. When they start crying, it's too loud, then we'll dial it back. All right, can you hear us now? A little bit better? We still have head shaking no. Judy, you're deaf. All right. The back says it's okay now. All right. Hey, if you have a hot little handout in your hand there, you'll notice that the date is wrong. A few other things in there that are wrong, but the songs are the same. And in honor of Earth Day, we thought we would not reproduce paper again since y'all weren't at church last week. So there you go. And also with us today, Dan and Paula Palladino and family back with us, so we're so glad. And that said, Dan, this is a song just for you. All day I face the barren waste without the taste of water, cool water. Oh, Dan and I, with throats burned dry and souls that cry for water. Cool, clear water. The nights are cool, and I'm a fool. Each star's a pool of water. Cool water. And with the dawn, I wake and yawn and carry on to water. Cool, clear water. This is for you, Dan. Keep a moving, Dan. Don't you listen to him, Dan. It's the devil, not a man. And he spreads the burning sand with water. Dan, can you see that big green tree where the water's running free and it's waiting there for you and me? Woo!
That's so high.
Water. Cool, clear water. The shadows sway and seem to say, tonight we pray for water, cool water. way up there, He'll hear our prayer and show us where there's water, cool, clear water. Keep a moving, Dan, don't you listen to him, Dan. He's the devil, not a man, and he spreads the burning sand with water. Dan, can you see that big green tree where the water's running free and it's waiting there for you and me? Water, slowly, cool, clear water, cool, clear water. Let's stand up and sing. This is the day that the Lord has made. This is the day, this is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. We will rejoice, we will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, this is the day that the Lord has. Come on, let's sing that again. This is the day.
Now wait a second here. I want you to remember
Okay.
how that sounded right there, right? Now hear how different it sounds when Tim, the drummer, makes a scream in between every verse. You got to do it, Tim.
This is the day, this is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. We will rejoice, we will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, this is the day that the Lord. All right, take a minute. Greet your neighbor and tell them good morning. I love you. Glad you're here. This is the day, this is the day that the Lord has made, that the Lord has made. We will rejoice, we will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, this is the day that the Lord has made. You may be seated. You see, Tim hollers like that during practice, but he won't do it during church. So appreciate you calling him out on that one.
Well, that's why we call him Tim the Timid.
This is one of Sean's favorite hymns right here. So he says. It's a good one. It's a really good one. Rock of Ages, clip for me.
Nothing in my head I bring, simply to the cross I can lean. Naked come to thee for dress, helpless look to thee for grace. Fall out to the fountain fly, wash me, save me, or I die. Rock of Ages, cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the blood from thy wounded side which flow be of sin a double cure, save from wrath and make me pure. Not the labors of my hand can fulfill thy love's demand. Could my zeal no respite know? Could my tears forever flow? All for sin could not atone. Thou must save, and thou alone. Go ahead, Stuart. Classic. Now I draw this fleeting breath, when my eyes shall close in death, when I soar to worlds unknown, see thee on thy gracious throne. Rock of Ages, cliff for me, let me hide myself in thee. Oh, let me hide myself in thee. Anytime Stuart takes a solo, I'm always afraid that someone's going to start throwing roses up on the stage.
Or other things.
Yeah, I was trying to be like a Tom Jones concert in here.
Hey, Bobby, can you give me just a little more vocal in the monitor, please?
Well, I'm so tired and so weary, but I must go on alone till the Lord comes and calls me away. Oh, yes, will the morning so bright, and the Lamb is the light in the night is as black as the sea. Yes, and there will be peace in the valley for me. Someday there will be peace, peace in the valley for me. Lord, I pray there'll be no more sadness, no sorrow, no more trouble. I'm gonna see there will be peace, peace in the valley for me. Well, the bed will be gentle and the walls will all be tame. And the lion will lay down with the lamb. Oh, yes. And the beasts from the wild will be led, my little child. And I'll be saved from this creature that I be. Oh, yes, I said there will be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Lord, I pray there'll be no more sadness, no sorrow, no trouble. I'm gonna see there will be peace in the valley for me. Do the sadness part. Said there'll be no more sadness, no sorrow, no more trouble. I see, and there will be peace in the valley for me.
Y'all come and stand right here below me for a moment. Let me say what I need to say, and we'll come down there and do this. Dan and Paula Palladino, grandparents, Mother Jennifer, and this is Jackson. I was looking this weekend. Jackson was dedicated December 2013, I believe. So here we are today. Make sure I get this right. Zoe Nicole Renee Garrett. And today this family comes before us acknowledging that God has granted them a gift, this child. And their vocation is to raise and love this child in such a way that she grow up to love and serve others and love and serve God all the days of her life. And today is a formal recognition of that responsibility. May your actions today match those of Hannah, who in the Old Testament said, I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked, so now I give this child to the Lord. And as you dedicate her so, she will be received. Jesus, speaking in Mark chapter 10, let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. I tell you the truth, that anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it. And Jesus took the children in his arms. He put his hands on them and blessed them. Dan and Paula, you bring this child today before us in an act of dedication. Will you pledge to support and love Zoe by providing the opportunity for her to grow up in the family of faith with the hope that she will someday follow Christ into the kingdom of God? If so, respond by saying, we will. Will you, to the best of your ability and with God's help, provide a loving family in which Zoe can grow in love toward her neighbors and toward her God? If so, respond by saying, we will. Will you encourage Zoe to grow in faith so that she will put her whole trust in the person of Christ? Will you encourage her so that she might live out the redemptive purposes of God? If so, please respond by saying, we will. And eager Dan says, we will. Dan and Paula have expressed their trust in God and in us by presenting this child for dedication. If you will pledge your support and loving presence in times of ease and in difficulty, in times of joy and sorrow, in times of growth and frustration, if you will pledge to be faithful witnesses for Christ in upholding this family, and especially this little one, would you please respond by saying, we will. his face to you and give you peace today and all the days of your life. And we offer this prayer in the blesser of children's name, in Jesus' name. Amen. Jackson was going to say amen, but he backed out. Let's thank them for this today.
Just once I'd like to do that to Billy. So just once I'd like to do that to Billy. Hold Billy. Yeah, just hold him and say that.
You know, if Dan and Paula weren't old friends, we'd have to explain ourselves here with this next song. But you know that anything can happen. But we think this is an appropriate song for a dedication. And then at the same time, since we missed last week, we didn't get to do our Percy Sledge cover since Percy passed away. So, you remember it? Yep.
Cover me, oh, cover me. Spread your precious love all over me. Hey, baby, can't you see the need in me? Oh, cover me. Hide me, girl, won't you hide me? When no other love gonna find me. Oh, I'm feeling cold, and I need you so. Yeah, hide me. Girl, my love for you gets stronger every day. What temptation might be waiting around the way? When I'm lost and I find myself astray, won't you find me? Hey, find me, oh, find me. Can't stop the tears that blind me. Oh, my darling, don't wanna lose you, so find me. Find me. Come on, Sean. Hey, stay. Hey, stay with me. Hey, stay with me. We can make it all the way you see. Oh, every day and every way. Oh, stay with me. Stay with me, yeah. Oh, hey, cover me. Cover me. Spread your precious love all over me like Duke's mayonnaise. Oh, can't you see? Yeah, there's a need in me. Oh, cover me. Cover me. Yeah, cover me. Cover me. Oh, cover me. Cover me.
If you sit there, Stuart, you sit over here. You can't sit by Bridget. You talk too much. Right over here. I'm serious now. It's like trying to talk over two woodpeckers when y'all get right there. Y'all, I'm not kidding. No, come try it. Last week I traveled up to Georgia with our missions partner, Kurt Ackerman. See there? And with John and Judy Skinner. And we had a little PR tour to raise some money for Kurt's work in El Salvador and to say thank you to some of his long-term supporters and hopefully to build some new partnerships for the future. And by the way, last week you gave $5,000 to the work of Kurt in El Salvador. Actually, 2 weeks ago now. And on behalf of Kurt, I thank you for that. And at the end of the week, Kurt, John, and Judy traveled on to Kentucky to continue the tour, with Kurt eventually going to Virginia and the Skinners to South Carolina before getting home late this week. And me and mine rendezvoused together in Tennessee for the wedding of long-time friends. But before we all scattered across the Southeast and in the middle of our church visits and our schmoozing little cocktail parties asking for money, we had a little fun. We had a lot of fun, actually. Judy Skinner's sister sent us to Mario Andretti's indoor go-kart racing and arcade in Roswell, Georgia. Whether it was an act of kindness, I can't say. I think maybe she just wanted us out of the house. Could be the case, but Susan, we were grateful. Andretti's is this massive playhouse. Hundreds of arcade games, white tablecloth restaurant, meeting space for your corporate event. I'm thinking maybe a retreat is in order up there. Go-karts, of course, the fastest go-karts I have ever raced. And let me say that Kurt and John might be exceptional missionaries, but I crushed them on the racetrack, just so you know. There were all of these interactive 3D games, a ropes course, and in the back, there was this 4-story climbing wall. And you know what I'm talking about, this big, slick, black wall with these rubberized, colorful grips that you can hang on to and climb the wall. And you get there, and you get put in a climbing harness and a rappel helmet, and up the top you go to ring this bell. Well, I might be proficient on the racetrack, but the climbing wall is another story altogether. And it's not that I can't climb. I've got mad monkey skills, I promise you. The problem is the height. I am morbidly afraid of heights. That's my confession to you today. Not mountains or balconies where there's something, sturdy beneath your feet. I don't like airplanes either, Stuart. No. But roller coasters, bungee jumps, working on a third-story roof, absolute paralysis. And don't tell me how irrational it is. I know it's irrational. That's what the definition of a phobia is. It's an irrational fear. It's an anxiety disorder, and I've got it. I mean, like nothing will send me into hives and sweating and going and looking for a toilet bowl to hug faster than having to traverse something more than 15 feet in the air. Hyperventilation and everything. Well, at Andretti's, I was feeling very smug after crushing John Skinner and Kurt Ackerman. And so we headed to the climbing wall, and this time I was going to do it. This time I was going to make it to the top. This time I was going to set my irrational fears aside, climb 4 stories in the air, and ring the bell. I'm in the harness, I'm in the helmet. Kurt shimmies on up, does great. Now it's my turn. By the way, John did not participate in this particular event. And John, then the kind, helpful attendant said something to me as I was about to mount the wall that changed everything. He said, when you get to the top, you have to jump. Say what? He said, when you get to the top, you have to let go and jump. In fact, wherever you are on the wall, when you finish, you have to let go and jump because the tension on the safety harness won't allow you to climb back down. The first 10 feet, no problem. Second 10 feet, no problem. Up to 30 feet, a little slower, but I'm still moving. I break the 30 feet mark, and the little ringy bell is just a few more feet away. And what I keep hearing in my head is, when you get to the top, you have to jump. And trusting a half-inch rope to save 175 pounds from reaching terminal velocity, I couldn't do it. And I froze on that wall twice, because they let me try again. I froze on that wall twice like a bug on a windshield. Now, free falling might be a shot of adrenaline for some of you, and if so, you have my genuine admiration. If you go to an amusement park and you are one of the first ones who can hardly wait to ride the biggest, baddest, tallest ride there. Anybody there like that? I consider you brave. If you make your living climbing around on roofs, 3-4 stories in the air, or washing windows way high in the air, you're my hero. And if you, like Matt Miller did this weekend, are foolish enough to go up in an airplane and parachute out, then I consider you some kind of God. Because I'm the guy, Stuart, that if the plane goes down, I'm just going to ride it all the way to the ground. Stuart said you would on mine because I don't carry a parachute. Thanks. Yeah. Personally, I adhere to the old King James translation of Jesus' last words to his disciples. Lo, I am with you always. So I try to keep as close to the ground as possible lest I stray too far from the Lord's presence. Not high, low. But as clammy as this makes my palms and my forehead, free falling is a requirement for living anything that resembles a life of faith. In fact, free falling might be the simplest definition for what faith is and for how faith works. Back to the climbing wall. How much faith does it take to climb? None. It takes some strength. It takes some balance. It requires a plan of attack. You may have to really focus yourself, but it requires no faith. You just keep moving, keeping on, but falling requires none of those things and requires nothing but faith. As long as I could climb, as long as I could stay locked in and focused, as long as I could reach that next rung, I was fine. But faced with the prospects of letting go and collapsing back into nothingness, I found out I really didn't have that much faith at all. How accurate for how we live our lives. As long as we can keep moving, as long as we can keep climbing, keep achieving, keep accomplishing, getting better, getting higher, then we feel like everything is okay, don't we? We feel very much in control. What an illusion of the situation. But what happens when our strength runs out? What happens when you can't reach the next rung? What happens when you're frozen on the wall? What happens when you have no strength left and you have to let go and fall? Then faith is required. See, I did learn this on the wall in that short time. What most of us call faith is actually nothing but human determination. It is confidence in our own ability and it is nothing that resembles trust in God at all. Determination keeps you moving. Faith gives you the ability to fall. One verse this morning from Hebrews chapter 11. It is the New Century Version, a single verse, a single sentence, with enough implication to keep us busy for most of our lives. The writer of Hebrews says this: faith means being sure of the things we hope for and knowing that something is real even if we do not see it. The traditional rendering of this verse from the King James Version you may have memorized somewhere along the way. It rolls off the tongue very much like Shakespeare. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It's beautiful but not very clear. And that's why I've chosen a contemporary translation. Faith is being sure of the things we hope for and knowing that something is real even if we do not see it. The philosopher Blaise Pascal read this verse and came to the conclusion that faith is what he called the wager. He said, in summary, faith is not something you prove, like a mathematical equation, and he was a mathematician too, so he knew about such things. Rather, faith is a gamble. It is choosing one of two risks to take. He said it is either reason or our happiness that is at stake. You can bet on reason, on what can be absolutely proven, but you will stay stuck to the wall. His word was suspended. Or you can choose happiness. But if you're going to be happy, you're going to have to release the gorilla grip on whatever you have and let go and fall into the infinity and grace of God that can never really truly be explained. How do we understand such a thing? Well, I think something like this. This morning I got in my car and I drove here, and I arrived because of my faith. How so? Well, first I came to an intersection of two major highways, and the light was red. When it turned green, I proceeded, believing that the other drivers on the road would honor that light. Now, sometimes that faith is severely tested around here, but that's what I believed, and I moved safely through. A little further down the road, I came to the Clyde Wells Memorial Bridge spanning Choctawhatchee Bay. Up and over the bridge I went without even a thought. Though I never met, from a generation ago, the engineers that designed and built that bridge. I don't know anything about civil engineering. I don't know anything about bridge support. I don't stop every time I cross the bridge, pull over, and do an inspection. I simply proceed with the hope and the trust that it will support me. Right? Then I come over the bridge and I come to a red light at Highway 98, and I did what I did multiple times along the way. I put my foot on a little square pedal and the car stopped, trusting that rotors and calipers and brake drums and brake pads would work. And I don't know anything about those things, but I trusted that it would stop. Here's the craziest thing of all. I stopped and bought a cup of coffee from a complete stranger and drank it with the trust that she was not a psychopath who liked to poison people that she did not know. Right? Now, didn't you have a similar experience this morning? All along the way, you put trust and confidence in things. You placed your bet. You rolled the dice, but you believed that the final outcome would be just fine, didn't you? What was your other option? To stay at home. Afraid to drive? Afraid that the brakes wouldn't work? Afraid that other drivers might harm you? Afraid that people that you meet might be out to get you? You would have just stayed at home. Tim Downs says, if I can remember the quote, you can live your life never getting out of bed, and the bed could collapse and break your neck, and you would have deserved it. Every day we place our bets and we move. We fall. We literally, all of us, free fell to get here today. Now go back to that climbing wall with me. I'm 3 stories in the air. The only thing separating me from the floor below is that 1/2-inch woven strap of polyester. I'd never tested that rope. I'd never checked Andretti's insurance to see if anybody had ever filed a claim at the wall. The rope fed over into this pulley system behind the wall that I had never seen. But when the time came and I realized I can't go on and I can't climb down and the fire department ain't going to come get me off this wall, I had to let go. It was a gamble for me. But it all worked out just fine. If you have what appears to be a horrific medical diagnosis, how does faith really work? Having faith in a time like that does not mean you will have all you need to keep going and keep climbing and keep hanging on. That's determination, but that's not real faith. It means that when the time comes and you have to let go, you can do so with confidence in the God that you trust. Or if you're facing a crossroads in your life, some heavy decision that has to be made, and you're trying desperately to get it right, faith doesn't mean you will necessarily make the most perfect decision. It means that once the decision is made, you fall hard on the mercy and goodness of God, trusting Him with the outcome. Or maybe you have a relationship that's just torn to pieces with a spouse, a partner, a parent, a child. How does faith work in a situation like that? Well, not by constantly managing and poking and handling and trying to fix it, but by letting it go, and together you fall, hoping and believing and knowing that whatever happens, while it will be beyond your control, is not outside of the mercy and the control of God. I say this to you over and over, and I'll say it again today, that the only real spiritual discipline is surrender. Oh, I hope you read your Bible, and I hope you say your prayers, and I hope you help your neighbors far and near, but you can do none of that well without empty hands and a surrendered heart. The greatest challenges in your life will never be about getting something you think you want or need. The greatest challenges in your life will always be about letting things go. People, dreams, ambitions, your ego, relationships, pride, your health, idealism about how you think life ought to be or how that other person ought to do things, that will keep you stuck to a wall quicker and longer than you can imagine. They'll keep you climbing, keep you scrambling, but you'll never have any real freedom. I'm going to conclude these thoughts about faith next week, but let me share one more lesson from the wall as I finish today. Do you know what was the scariest moment for me in that whole experience? It wasn't standing on the ground looking 4 stories in the air. It wasn't while I was climbing. It wasn't when I finally let go and fell to the bottom, on my bottom, on the floor below. The scariest moment is that war between your rational mind and actually being free. That moment when you're clutching so tightly. That's the scariest moment, and that's where all our energy is spent. Do you know that about your own life? You know, have you noticed that once you finally make a decision, most of us, for the most part, 99% of the time, we're able to live with it? But what's the hard part? actually making the decision. Isn't that the hard part? And we dig in and we cling to that wall and we hold on for dear life. And if that's you today, then I've got great news. You are this close to being free. And by this close, I mean simply the length of your fingertips. Because only thing that's left holding you there is your grip. It takes absolutely no faith to hold on. It takes all kinds of faith to let go and trust that God will catch you. Let's pray together. Lord, give us the gift of hope that we might entrust ourselves completely to you. Not that we would climb higher or clutch tighter or fight against the air as if we could fly, but grant us the mercy to fall into your hands. It's in Christ we pray. Amen. I invite you to come to the Lord's table and let's celebrate together the gift of God's grace. To walk with me, I want my Jesus to walk with me all along this pilgrim journey. I want my Jesus to walk with me. In my trials, Lord, walk with me. In my trials, walk with me. When the shades of life are falling, I want my Jesus to walk with me. In my sorrow, Lord, walk with me. In my sorrows, walk with me. When my heart is broken, I want my Jesus to walk with me. In my troubles, Lord, walk with me. In my troubles, Lord, walk with me. When my life is a burden, I want my Jesus to walk with me. I want my Jesus to walk with me. I want my Jesus to walk with me. All along my pilgrim journey, I want my Jesus to walk with me. In my trials, Lord, walk with me. In my trials, Lord, walk with me. When the shades of life are falling, I want my Jesus to walk with me. In my sorrow, walk with me. In my sorrows, walk with me. When my heart is aching, I want my Jesus to walk with me. I want my Jesus to walk with me. I want my Jesus to walk with me. All along my pilgrim journey, I want my Jesus to walk with me. There are many prayer requests that are circulating, but they're... Yep. I know. I saw that. I saw that. Lots of prayer requests that are circulating, too, that I want to make you especially aware of. Early yesterday morning, our friend and simple faither Lee Rowan passed away. Lee, many of you know and have known for years. He's been your neighbor and your friend. Some of you may not know him by name, but he would always sit up close to the front, and after we would pray or after the sermon, he couldn't shake the Episcopal Church out of him, and he would always say, "In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost." God love his heart. So he passed away in South Florida yesterday, and his memorial service tentatively is for late this coming week in Selma, his hometown, Selma, Alabama. So we'll keep you up to date on that. And good news, Joseph and Catherine Cope, and they're here today. They're having a baby on Tuesday. I just love this. I think we'll have a baby Tuesday. What do you say? And so, baby girl, our prayers are with you on Tuesday, right here locally. It's Monday. Didn't the notification go out Tuesday for Tuesday, or has it always been Monday? Well, Monday. Here you go. First thing in the morning, then. All right. Sleep well tonight. Sleep well. Don't you notice that, though, in a family, and you consider church a family, and I've had it happen in my personal family, that whenever there's a death, there's almost always, within days, a birth. And we'll consider that so here. And so, good news. Glad that Lee is at peace. Bless him. And glad for the great joy that Joe and Catherine and little Joe will have tomorrow. Let's pray together, taking your neighbor by the hand. Father, thank you for your grace and your goodness to us and the measure of faith that you give us all, which is simply the courage to let go and fall into you. We pray for Lee's family. We pray for Lee's good soul, glad that he is at rest with you. Pray for Joseph and Catherine, this new baby that's soon to be here. May your grace shine upon them in these next hours as they prepare, and then as the baby is born, give good health to mom and baby, and skill and wisdom to those who care for her, patience and understanding for Joe and the family. As Jesus taught us to pray, we pray boldly. Our Father, amen. What's it talk about being goaded?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I like goats.
I've been goaded 40 times this morning.
You're goated every day of the week, aren't you?
Well, I am, but about one particular thing this morning. George Davenport's 77th birthday. I hate to tell you this because it just makes your ego so much bigger, but you a fine-looking 77-year-old man. And we got one brief little song just for you.
We told Kathy she could choose 3 hymns, so she was going to get up on the stage and go, I want him, him, and him.
Yeah.
I've been saving that all service.
Boy, that is good. That was great. Sean asked me this morning, I said, we need to do a little song for George. And Sean said, well, what's his favorite group? And I said, the Bee Gees. And he said, well, what song could we do for a birthday? And this is it. Hit it.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. The music love what women want. I've been kicked around since I was born. You know it's all right, and that's okay. And you may look the other way, and we can try to understand, to do your time some better man. Whether you're a brother away from your mother, you're staying alive, staying alive. Feel the city shaking and everybody breaking you. Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive.
All right, George, give us a few more. Give us a few more. All right, let's stand up and sing, Will That Circle Be Unbroken? This is our offertory song. Thanks for coming today. Sing along with us. Great song. We're in G, Billy. We're going to be in G.
As we lean on one another by the grace of God above. This pain we're feeling will soon be lessened and replaced with enduring love. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Go ahead, Ronnie.
We can sing the songs of childhood, hymns of faith that make us strong, ones that our parents taught us, hear the angels sing along. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. I am singing with my family. I am singing with my friends, and we all can sing together, 'cause the circle never ends. Will the circle, come on, be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord. You have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday morning right here. You're
Daddy
dismissed.
sang bass,
Mama sang tenor.
me and a brother would join right in there. This train is bound for glory. This train is bound for glory. Gonna go riding for the righteous and the holy. This train is bound for glory. This train.
That's our best stuff of the day.
It worked.
Bare feet stepping